Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or to my channel if you haven't been here before. I'm sorry I haven't been around. I actually just got done celebrating my 18th birthday. But yeah, today, going to go through my little fall birthday book haul, which is probably the biggest haul I've ever gotten, because my birthday just happened to be around the exact same time as my library was having a used book sale that was selling books at a really discounted price, and then I used my birthday money to go to Thrift Books, and I ended up going to Books A Million, and then I ended up going on a New York City trip where I got to see Hadestown, which was absolutely amazing on Broadway, and I got to purchase a few books from the world's largest Barnes & Noble up there. I may post something on that, I'm not entirely sure. So, without further ado, let's get started with the video. All right. So first, I'm going to go through these two, which were mentioned in the short that I did when I went on a little fall book date with my friend. The first one is Don't Look Now by Linda Lee Miller. This is a thriller about a person who is going on to, I'm pretty sure she's a defense attorney. Okay, yeah, and then she has to go into this investigation. Sorry. This was a blind date with the book that I got. I didn't pick this up of like just browsing, but I think it should be good, and if I don't like it, I can always donate it. So that's the good thing about this, is all of these are cheap, and if I don't like something, I can always donate to a better cause. Anyways, the second book I got on that trip was The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, which any Lisa Jewell novel I'm always eating up. I've been wanting to read this one for a while. I actually had borrowed, I think it was The Family Remains from my library, and then found out that was it's a standalone sequel, but it would make more sense if I read this first. So I got this one to read that, and then I can read this Family Remains. But yeah, I read None of This Is True by her, and it was literally so good, had me on my edge of my seat. It was literally the only thriller I've ever cared about, okay, that sounds bad, but where the characters were so attached to me, and I was really grieving some of the stuff that was happening, which I've talked about that on this channel before. But yeah, so Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. And then this is, okay, so my library has a used book sale every season. So there's one for fall, spring, summer, winter, you get it. But during the entire year, they have this one shelf out in the lobby of the library that basically has used books that you can just buy without anybody being there, and you just put money, cash, into this little box, which was very easy to steal stuff, but I mean, they did them, whatever. I guess it's not lost to them because the books are donated anyway. But yeah, they're always there, and so this was one of them, and the hardcovers are $2 and the paperbacks are $1. So just so you know, this really is not that much money when you put it all together. I may even put a total just to say hey, I'm not I see a lot of times readers feeling discouraged because booktubers are always getting these huge book hauls, and they're always paying all this money, they can just walk into a store and get whatever book they want. And I understand that I come also from a family where I can't afford to do that all the time, especially as a reader. And even though I'm addicted to buying books, it is hard to watch other people do that and then feel oh, I'm not a reader if I can't just afford to walk into a bookstore and pick whatever hardcover I want. Well, hardcovers are $30 nowadays. That's a lot of money. So I totally just want you to feel hey, you're not alone. I thrift books all the time. That's how I have most of my copies, and the rest are just gifts. So all of this is just it's not me, oh, I have money and I'm doing this. I just want you to feel you don't have to have a lot of money to be a reader, and you can do that whether you have a library that you borrow books from, or even if you buy books. There are so many ways to get them discounted, and yeah, you don't have to feel you have to spend so much money on a brand new copy, because sometimes you can get one just as good for used price. So anyways, yeah, so the one I got off the shelf was Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. I've heard so much about this book, and actually I've checked this out several times from my library. I don't know actually how many times I've done it, but every time it was, okay, so whenever my library gets new books, they have like a 7-day policy on them for a while because so many people are trying to read them. So you can only check it out for 7 days. And that's what this was. So many times I would check it out for the 7-day limit and then I wouldn't get to it in that 7 days because I have a bad habit of picking up multiple books at the same time. And so, yeah, I never got to read it and I had borrowed it so many times. So hopefully owning it this time will actually, you know, I'll see it on my shelf and it'll encourage me to pick it up eventually. But I've heard the audiobook is really good. It's narrated by Meryl Streep, so I will definitely have to check that out. But yeah, so this has been a really popular one everywhere, but I got it for $2. So that was a great deal. And moving on. Okay, this is my library's used book sale. I got so much from this one. So yeah, like I said, the paperbacks were $1, the hardbacks were $2. So we'll just get into it. So the first book I got is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I've actually read this book already. I've just been wanting to own the series for a while now because I never finished the 4th book, I believe. So I was like, in collecting it, it's probably easier to just, you know, get it used. So this is the first book in the series, and this was a really, really good book. A lot of people recommend it. It was really popular on TikTok for a while. But yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. So basically in this world, it's divided by those with red blood and those with silver blood. Maribaro is a red-blooded, but then the silver people, like the silver-blooded people are elites. They have supernatural powers. And so she is basically like, ends up finding out that she has a power and goes into this like tournament and stuff. It's kind of hard to explain right now. But yeah, it's a really, really good book and kind of gives Hunger Games vibes, but it's really good. Anyways, moving on. Second book, I got Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. I've been wanting to read this book for so long. I'm such a big Kristen Hanna fan. You know, I've talked about her on this channel so many times. Firefly Lane has been on my TBR for a really long time. And this book, this copy is a little beat up. But here's the thing. The paperbacks, like brand new in the store, are literally like $20. So I was like, $1 or $20. I think it's kind of an obvious choice for me. And then this way I can mark it up and not feel bad about it. It's already been really well loved. And yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I think it's about 2 best friends, and I'm not sure really what else it's about, but I trust Kristen Hanna, and everybody raves about this book. So I'm excited to get into it. And then I got Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and this book is actually in excellent condition for being used. Like, it looks brand new. But this is a sci-fi book, and it says, a lone astronaut in a possible mission, an ally he never imagined. Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth itself will perish. So it's a sci-fi novel. I'm occasionally into sci-fi, not very much, but so many people who don't usually read sci-fi have liked this one. So hopefully it'll turn out well for me. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so maybe, just maybe, I'll like it. So yeah, it was also $1. And then I got Then She Was Gone by Lisa Joel. This was the only Lisa Joel novel they actually had at this entire used book sale. And I was like, you know, I'm getting it. I've been wanting to read Then She Was Gone for so long. I actually had Then She Was Gone on my TBR before I had None of This Is True. But I ended up reading None of This Is True first. I'm pretty sure I read an ebook of it, was how I got it. But I kept seeing this on the shelf and kept wanting to buy it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's $1. It's a sign. I'm going to read it. And again, October is just the perfect time to read thrillers and to read mysteries, and here we go. So that's on my TBR now. And then speaking of thrillers, we're moving right along with that genre in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. This one combines murder mystery, a family saga, love story, and financial intrigue into a complex and atmospheric novel. Harriet Vanger, a scion of one of Sweden's wealthiest families, disappears over 40 years ago. All these years later, her aged uncle continues to seek the truth. He hires Mikael Blomqvist. Sorry if I'm saying this wrong. This is their Swedish name, so my bad. A crusading journalist recently trapped by a libel conviction to investigate. He is aided by the pierced and tattooed punk prodigy Lisbeth Salander. Together they tap into a vein of iniquity and corruption. So I think this is going to be very, very interesting. And it was a #1 national bestseller. All of like the big magazines have commented on it. And I keep seeing this showing up at the used book sale. So many people are like selling this, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's time that I just check into it for myself. It also like looks in perfect condition, except it looks maybe like somebody took a bite out of it. Like not literally, but like low key that looks like teeth marks. That's crazy. Maybe a dog bit it. Anyways, so that's there. But otherwise, nonetheless, a really good copy. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that was by him either. That's crazy. Anyways, moving on. I'm so distracted. I want my tea. I got my Snoopy mug because that felt fallish. The next thing I got is an Agatha Christie novel, which is Dumb Witness, which is a Hercule Poirot mystery. Poirot. I don't even know. I've read Poirot's book. Poirot. There you go. There's a sticker on the front. I'll have to get that off in a minute. Sorry, it's distracting me. But I've read many of the Poirot mysteries, and I love them so much. Especially Agatha Christie. She's just such a good author, such a good mystery writer. I think some of my favorites that I've read, obviously Death on the Nile, Murder on the Orient Express. One I really liked though was Cards on the Table. There's not a lot of people that like talk about that one, but it is really good. And Lord Edward Dies. That's also a really good one. Yeah, but she's written so many books, and I'm excited to dive into this one. Anyways, moving on, I got a classic, which is kind of going along with the video that I'm hoping to finish by the end of November, but I can't exactly reveal the theme. And that is Moby Dick, and I've been wanting to read more classics recently, and I've been getting into them specifically. Right now I'm currently reading Little Women in 1984 by George Orwell, and so I was like, why not? This is a nice copy, and I wanted to go ahead and start stocking up on some classics because I feel like I don't own enough, and I would like to get more. Anyways, moving on, I got Matched by Ali Condal, or is it Condi? Pretty sure it's Condal, but anyways, it's basically, I actually have no idea what this book's about. It says, Cassia has always trusted the society's choices, and when her best friend appears on the matching screen, Cassia is certain he is the one, until she sees another face flash for an instant before the screen fades to black. Now she is faced with the impossible choices between Xander and Kai, between the only life she's known and a path no one dares to follow, between perfection and passion. Society matched them, but love set them free. In the society, officials decide who you love, where you work, when you die. Very, very interesting. Okay, so it sounded like it's like kind of like a government sets you up with people kind of thing. So it's basically dystopian romance, but I knew a friend who really, really liked this series. So when I saw it at the used book sale, I was like, might as well try it. Again, like these books, like in the long run, like $1 is not going to mess me up if I don't like these books, and I can donate to someone who will love them. And I'm pretty sure, let me look in this box. I threw everything in here. So I'm pretty sure I got the second book too matched. Yeah, because I saw it and it was in hardcover. It's Crossed, and I believe it's a trilogy, so I believe there's a third one. I'm not going to read the inside so I don't spoil anything for myself, but again, yeah, like that's the matched and the sequel to it. And then I also got Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey, and then there's a third one in this trilogy too, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's A Witch and a Witch Hunter. And yeah, so that sounds already really great. Sarah J. Maas has a quote on the front. I haven't read any of her books, but obviously everybody loves her, so that sounds really good. And then people have been talking about the series a lot. I think there is supposed to be some spice, but from what I've read reviews on it, I always try to read reviews on books that I'm going to get into. It's really just like one scene that is very easily skippable or blackoutable. So I'm going to try it again. Like my thing with these books is, because they're so cheap, like it doesn't really hurt me to try them, and then if I don't like them, again, donating them. But also I don't feel pressured to keep reading them. I feel like a lot of times when I spend a lot of money on a book, like even if there's something bad in it, part of me is like, man, but you spent so much on this, and like you feel bad stopping it, like stop reading it or to DNF it. But this isn't like a waste of money if I DNF these books or if I feel convicted about reading one of them. So yeah, I feel like that's a good way to try them, is just get used books, and then you don't feel so bad if you have to put them down. All right. Back on the classics route, I got The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Obviously, I think a lot of us know what this is. I've read passages of this before in English classes, but never the whole thing. So again, just collecting the classics, trying to get into it. So yeah, that's going with Moby Dick. And then I got Along for the Ride by Sarah Deason. I've actually been wanting to read this book for a while now. This is going to sound really bad because usually my policy is strictly read the book before the movie, but in this case, I watched the movie before the book because I didn't know it was a book. So I watched the one on Netflix. I really liked it, and I'm really hoping that this book will not live up to the movie, but will, just surprise me and be really good to read, and a cute little romance book. Basically, it's about two teenagers, this girl who is basically staying on this beach with her dad for the summer, and she is an insomniac, and she meets this boy who is also an insomniac, and they fall in love. So yeah, and that's, yeah. But yeah, it was a really good plot, so I'm really hoping that the book will be just as good, or better, hopefully. And then, you all know that I'm into Broadway musicals, so I got Wicked, which I've been wanting to read this book for so long now. I keep seeing it at stores and everything, but it's always so expensive. But this is such a beautiful cover, and it even opens up like this to this most beautiful art of Elphaba. And I'm so, so excited to read this one, because Wicked is one of my favorite musicals of all time. Always singing its songs, and yeah, so I'm really, really excited to read her story the way it was intended to be told, and yeah, to just have that nostalgia. Finally, the last book from that haul I got is called The Queen's Rising, and it's by Rebecca Ross. And if I'm not mistaken, Rebecca Ross wrote Divine Rivals series. So I saw this and I thought it may be good to try, and also Booklist and Sarah J. Maas all has a quote on the back, and the series says, when her 17th summer solstice arrives, Brianna desires only two things: to master her passion and to be chosen by a patron. While her fellow Arden sisters at the renowned Magnolia House in Valenia seem to be naturally gifted at one of the five passions: art, music, dramatics, wit, or knowledge, Brianna struggled to find hers until she chose knowledge. However, despite years of preparation, Brianna is left without a patron. Months later, her life takes an unexpected turn when a disgraced lord offers her patronage. Once Brianna accepts, she quickly becomes entangled in a dangerous plot to overthrow the ruthless king of Mavana, the rival kingdom of Valenia, and restore the rightful queen and her magic to the throne. With war brewing, Brianna must choose between passion and blood, because a queen is destined to rise and lead the battle to reclaim the crown. Who will be that queen? Interesting. This sounds really good, so hopefully it'll be very interesting, and it might be a series I could get into. So there's that. And then, so that was the last of the book haul. This I got at a thrift store when I went thrifting for my birthday. And I was so surprised to see this there, but this has been on my TBR for so long because I believe Haley Pham rated it like 5 stars, and a couple other people are really liking it. But that is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. And Adrienne Young is the one who wrote, Fable and Namesake, which I've also had those on my TBR for a while, but people were talking about this. So basically this one is more of a sci-fi version, or sci-fi book, but people were saying it was just really interesting, the take that she had on it. So I'm really, 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 really excited to get into this. But yeah, it says a woman risks everything to end her family's centuries-old curse, solve her mother's disappearance, and find love in this mesmerizing novel from the New York Times bestselling author Spells of Forgetting. I'm excited. So that's going to be really good, hopefully. But yeah, I also got this for, I think, only $1 at the thrift store, which was actually crazy because it's in excellent shape. And moving on to the thrifting that I did, Books A Million, if you do not know, has a discounted section in the back where basically their overstock that they haven't been selling gets discounted to really great prices. So if you've never been in the back of a Books A Million, or wherever they should put it, you should go check their discounted section, because they have some really popular books back there that not a lot of people know about, and you could end up paying a lot of money for something when it's actually really cheap back there. For instance, both of the books in this bag I literally had grabbed from the normal section, went back to look in the discount section, and they had both of those books for literally like $6 less. So obviously I was going back there, and yeah. So you should check the back of your Books A Million. So the first one I got, again, for $5.97, Six Crimson Cranes. So I've actually read this book from my library, and I absolutely loved it. It's Chinese mythology about Princess Shiori, who basically is engaged to this man that she does not want to be engaged to. So she runs away, finds this dragon, and basically her brothers get cursed and turned into cranes, and she is cursed as well, so nobody can know her identity, and she has to break that curse. So that's basically the setup of this book. So good, such a sweet little, like, there was just so much love between, like, brothers and sister, which I have brothers, and oftentimes we fight, but I could relate to that a lot, I think. And also, it was a really sweet romance subplot. And it actually has a sequel, which not a lot of people know. And that is The Dragon's Promise, which I also found in the bargain section. But it says A Dazzling Fairy Tale, and that was Stephanie Garber who wrote Caraval and Once Upon a Broken Heart, and I absolutely trust her opinion. And obviously I loved the first book, so I'm really hoping that this one is just as good, if not more so. So I'm really excited. I've really been getting into the Chinese mythology books recently, and yeah, I really love digging into that and other cultures' history and how it portrays in books. Anyways, and last but not least, my Barnes & Noble books from the Barnes & Noble in New York City. I didn't want to get something amazing, but I ended up I got Good Girl, Bad Blood and As Good as Dead from the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I've actually read the first one and I own it. I just have not read these two, and I am not letting myself watch the TV series before I read the whole series. So yeah, I've heard good things. I really hope to get into these, and yeah, I'm really excited and hope these are good mysteries for fall time. But yeah, that's my book haul for fall and for my birthday. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for sitting here. Hopefully, like as I go and read these books, like you'll stick around and we can talk about them. If you've read any of these books and loved them or didn't like them, let me know why in the comments below, and I will please take your advice into consideration. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye.